Welcome to the show. This is Moombahton Essentials. I am your host, Mr. Vega, and we have a special guest here today. Who's John? Welcome in the chat. How are you doing, man?
Was good.
All right.
Thanks for having me. Stoked to be.
Of course, always, man. Can you hear me well?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Awesome. I hear you perfectly. Got to make sure I can hear everybody in here, and we're good to go. Any questions in the chat, let us know. But we're going to get into the first song, and then we're going to go right into this awesome interview. I'm so prepared today, guys. I'm so prepared. How are you doing today, sir?
What's up, man? I'm good. I'm chilling. I got my hair done today. We're out here.
I get my hair done every other day. Sponsored by Gillette.
I was gonna say you baked your shit, right?
Yeah, man. Not even as intense of a process as yours is, man.
Yeah, my shit is ridiculous. It's very extra. It's not for everybody.
But hey, it looks good, man. It's well worth it. I see.
Appreciate that. So
awesome. So I got some questions for you, man. So I want to talk to you about your whole journey. Now, like, I've known you for a bunch of years. A lot of years, but I want to say like 10 plus years now. So the journey has been really, really long, for you. And now you're in this whole techno realm and, making some really cool fucking shit. So I want to talk to you about the beginning. So Who's John wasn't the first iteration of your music journey. Can you tell me where the journey begins and how you came across like your first DJ producer identity?
Good question. So yeah, I've been doing this for a long ass time. Feels like an eternity at this point. I started all the way back, and I loved music as a kid, and I would watch my dad DJ, and I was like very into it at like a young age. And then I didn't get my first DJ gear and start making music until I was like in high school though. It was around 2006 is when I started, and then from there, I didn't really have like a DJ name for a while. I like knew that my real name is like kind of, I don't know, it didn't really seem, everyone in my life had always pronounced it wrong, and that's totally fair. So I was like, this is not like a good DJ name. Like some people get blessed with really cool birth names, but not me. So I think my first DJ name, was officially just OMF, which I was making Moombahton under, basically.
Yeah.
That was the first time I really ever, like, DJ'd under a name, and it was years after. I mean, I was DJing, like, high school house parties and stuff like that with no, like, name or anything for a long time, but I'm trying to think if there was anything before that. I'm pretty sure it was just OMF was my first. It stood for Oh My Fuck, which is now looking at that super just cringe thinking about it.
It's not that bad. I mean, it could be worse. There's some names out there now that it's like, ugh.
Yeah. No.
Oh My Fuck is not the worst thing you could have came up with.
At least I didn't have, upside down V's and shit. So, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah. It's like, is that a U? Is it a V?
I didn't replace the A's with V's, whatever. I don't know. Anyway, exactly. So it stood for Oh My Fuck because that was like just like a regular saying for me back then. Sure. But when you would hear like the theory behind it was like, when I DJ, I want to be able to give you that feeling that I get when I'm in a crowd and I'm like, oh my fucking God, what is this? This is crazy. Like that just like feeling of just like passion and excitement at the same time where you're like, oh my God, like, because like I knew how that felt as a fan, and I wanted to kind of put that back, and yeah, so that was my first, and I was making Moombahton under it, maybe a little bit of house, but mostly just Moombahton.
Now, for production, was Moombahton the first thing you started producing, or you were producing other stuff before Moombahton?
I was producing other stuff, but I didn't really have like a lane. I was just kind of figuring it out, as we all do when we start making music. Kind of just like I added like a few house edits and songs. Like I hadn't really released music. I don't know, I was just kind of all over the place, just trying to figure it out. And then I had fallen in love with Moombahton, and then I ended up just making like I think it was like an edit remix type of thing of what was it? It was Bruck It Down, I think it was.
Yeah,
I forget by was it by Mr. Vegas?
it
Not
was
you,
Mr.
but
Vegas. No, not me.
like
I got one of his bookings once. One of his bookings came through to me once. It's kind of crazy.
that's awesome. I hope you showed up and did it.
Halfway through it, they figured out it wasn't him. I was like, yeah, I'll take that. I'll fly to Jamaica now. Yeah, so it was Broke It Down, and then what came after Broke It Down?
Um, after that, damn, I don't even remember.
That
It
long, huh?
was, yeah, seriously, at this point. I mean, I was making like electro was like kind of really popular back then, so I was like also
Hmm.
making like some kind of electro-y house type stuff. I was still exploring Moombahton. I was still kind of figuring it out. I was a bit intimidated by it because I just didn't feel like I really fit in. But I ended up meeting Max and EJ and you, and like made me super comfy with it. And I was like super passionate about just finding more of it. So it ended up sparking a lot in uh, my confidence. I was definitely working on some like electro, like I mean, I started like making music because of like Steve Angelo and Dead Mouse. So
Yeah,
I was like definitely always, trying to emulate their sounds and figure that out. And, as I'm sure we all did at one point, but,
for sure,
um,
man.
yeah, that's from there. I did that for a long time. And then I started another alias briefly, um, with Eric, a friend of mine, a friend of ours, actually.
Yeah.
um, and, we released a few songs, and then I took a bit of a break, and, and I landed on, I was like, all right, I need a new name. I want to close this chapter, all these chapters, and just figure out what I want this to be once and for all. And years later, me, Max, and EJ, and maybe it was you. I think it was just me, Max, and EJ in a group chat, and we were going through like names for days, like literally like a week. Couldn't come up with something, or I just didn't like it. They had all these like gimmick names and just like things that I was like, this is would be it's gonna be cool for 5 minutes and then I have to live with it forever kind of shit. And I was like, and Max just got so frustrated one time, and he was just like, bro, I gave you like a million names. I don't know what the fuck it is. You gotta have to figure out who is John. Like, who are you? You gotta figure it out. Like, who's John? And I was just like, that's it.
That's
He was
it.
like, what do you mean? I was like, that's it. That's the
Who's John?
name. And he was like, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, no, that's literally it. Who's John? That's what I
That's
want it to
so
be.
awesome.
Like,
It's usually that's how it goes. It's just that simple. It's just
yeah,
that
he
simple,
was
man.
so mad. And I was like, no, you don't understand. Like, that's
That's
it.
it.
Like, because this all about, this whole thing is like a journey in me discovering who I am and what I like as a musician and evolving. And it's quite literally a real time, like, who is this person? You're on the journey with me. Um, so yeah,
I
that's the
definitely feel
shortest
that.
version of that story that I can give.
For sure, for sure. I definitely feel that because I will say the music now, like the last couple of years that you've been doing, like I say, when you sent me Panorama before it actually came out, I will say that is like, for me, the best description would be like an exploration of sound. So I do feel like Who's John is like a great description of what this music is. It's like, he's trying to figure out who he is, and like, we're exploring, we're learning. It's a journey, it's an experience, like 100%. I love that. I love that. Hell yeah.
Yeah, it
So,
has multiple meanings, to just add on to that before we move on. Like, it
for
has
sure.
a lot. Like, even something that really bothered me, um, when I was OMF was, or even Kiji, I didn't really do anything really with. It was, we released a few songs and I didn't really like play. I don't think I ever played a show under that name, but it was weird to me when people come up and be like, "Are you OMF?" And it would be like, I kind of just wanted to be like, I just want you to call me John, but it was like kind of weird being like, just having this like weird alter ego type thing. And, I just, I kind of wanted to build that into my next name as just like, that's my actual name is John. So like people can just be like, yeah, that's John. Like, it just felt a lot more comfortable and natural for me. So, um, you know, I definitely want to
Well,
write like a book one day, and it'll probably be called Who's John or something like that. Like there's like a million things I could do with it. So it ended up working out really nice.
so I had another question. I saw your vinyl set online. I saw you, swapping out the CDJs for the vinyl. What do you prefer, CDJs or vinyl? Like, and have you ever done like a live vinyl set? That's the other question I have for you.
So I have wanted my own pair of turntables since I was a kid, because that's what I was used to watch my dad play on. But I just, money never lined up, and I never really just, never had a place for them, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. I started I actually super 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 early on did start playing around with records before I even got my own like CD players at the time. But it was like super brief, so I like literally haven't played vinyl since like then. So it's something I've always wanted to do. I got a really good opportunity to get these from a club that I work with, and they were just sitting in the corner collecting dust, and they finally gave them to me. They needed to be repaired, and they needed some love, so I cleaned them up, and it was a fun project for me to do that and make them my own and really kind of get in there and learn. I love learning new things, so like learning how to
Yeah.
repair those and just seeing what the older technology was back in the day. Like these are MK3s, or no, sorry, MK5s. So these came out in the 90s, I think, or maybe late 80s to early 90s. So just seeing like what they were, was really cool. But I don't really have a ton of records yet. I'm just kind of practicing with like the 10 or so that I have, but I
For
definitely
sure.
plan on doing, I'm buying like a bunch of techno vinyl and stuff like that. And I'm definitely going to do a vinyl set at some point.
That would be awesome, man. That'd be really exciting to see.
I want to eventually incorporate it into not every show, but some shows, especially with the DJM V10. It's a 6-channel mixer, so I'd like to have the 4 CDJs there, and then two channel 1 and 6 be turntables, just to have the option.
For sure.
I never got to learn how to do it, and I mean now with like using CDJs for so long, and just like I've never used a sync up, never. So just like my ear has always been tuned to that anyway. So like I've been playing records, and honestly, there's been no learning curve. Like it's been super easy for me. I've been fine. There's definitely some things that I'm like getting used to and learning, but like the basic principles of DJing are still the same. So just kind of adhering to that format. I don't really know if I have a preference yet. I mean, I kind of grew up and started with CDJs, so I would say that that's my preference, but I still love vinyl as a format too, because um, it's just different, like I haven't had that experience with it yet. Um,
Yeah.
and so many amazing DJs, uh, had like this was that, and I want to step into those shoes and, try to just get even better. I'm kind of like a DJ purist in some ways. So it's like, I
Sure.
really, I want to learn that side of it just to do it, in a way. So like this is kind of just like a hobby within a hobby for me right now. I'm just, learning, and it's been fun. It's new. I just got them, so
That's awesome. So with that being said, DJing or producing music, where does your heart go?
yeah, this is gonna be an answer that not a lot of people would actually give you, but like I literally only started making music so I can DJ. Like I if I never had to
Same.
make music again, I wouldn't. Like, I do like making music. I don't want to minimize that at any point.
For
And
sure.
I now it's become a part of me, and now I've grown that to a point where like it's able to stand on its own. But my passion is not like opening Ableton. My passion is like opening, you know, record box. Actually, I hate
Yeah.
record box, but like it's being able to
I get
DJ
what
in
you're
front of
saying.
people. It's the most happy that I usually ever am, is being able to perform and um, you know, I making music is a whole different animal. It's a whole different thing. It's really it finally caught up. Like I feel like my DJing and my producing are like almost at the same level now. So like
Hmm.
that's cool, but for a while it wasn't. So there's a lot of like gaining confidence in that area and kind of like figuring out how to produce music that I also do want to DJ and stuff like that. That's a whole thing, and I could go on a lot of tangents about all this stuff.
No, for sure. And I got more questions along with that, but I don't want to get too far into that. So really quick, taking a couple steps back, what made you gravitate towards Moombahton when you did?
Um, it was like such a breath of fresh air. It just like not that, and I was still very new in. Hold on, let me walk away from this. My neighbor's barking dog.
We can't hear it. Don't worry about it.
It was still very new. I mean, the first time I had ever heard it was with at Electric Zoo with my best friend Brandon, and we were watching Diplo, and I remember it so vividly. And I just remember it being like, we have never heard anything like this before. I mean, we were listening to like Dutch House was really big at the time, and it was Dutch House and electro and stuff like that. And it was just, yeah, it just smacked us in the face. It was like, holy, oh my God. And I immediately fell in love with it. It was like the rhythm, and like I had loved reggaeton, and just, I can't speak a lick of Spanish, but like it just, everything just resonated with me, just how it was. Like, I'm very like me as like a person, generally very open to all kinds of music. Like I listen in my personal life just to everything, like, so it was, even though I definitely had like a severe affection for electronic dance music, I had always loved all kinds of other stuff too. And this kind of blended like a bunch of things together for me. And I was like, oh man, this is so cool. And then I immediately was like, seeing other people make it, and it was still so new that there wasn't enough of it, but it was like, I felt like I was like something special that I had just discovered. So that was kind of what drew me in like immediately.
Yeah. I think that kind of like we felt that way as well. That was just something really special. Because at first I didn't really even, I was producing electro house when I first heard it. So I was like, why is this so slow? It's like, I love reggaeton, but why is this so slow? So I was like kind of confused, but there was something special about it. And then seeing the community and understanding who was doing what, and the Diplo stuff, the Moonchi stuff, it was just, it opened a whole nother can of worms. So I remember a lot of your early productions, and we collaborated on stuff that came out, stuff that didn't come out. But I had a question. Was Techno secretly like your lover this whole time? Which, like, was it just in the back there, like, I'm just gonna go full on techno like one day? Like, was it always there? And I asked that only because like your stuff now sounds so polished and so like, when somebody sounds like they know what they're doing, like when I listen to your stuff, it sounds like you know what you're doing. So like, is this something that you were always holding on to in the back of your mind? Like, this is what I'm going to do, or it just came to you? What, like, please tell me about it.
Oh man. Well, first off, I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
I'd like to think I know what I'm doing sometimes, but I don't know. Yeah, it was there. There were signs. It's funny, the first, oh, I forgot there was another alias. All right, so after OMF, there was like, but it was simultaneous. It was a different alias. It wasn't like a one to the other. I was making techno when I was making Moombahton as OMF actually, and there was 3 or 4 songs that I did under the alias of Murmur. A friend of mine, his name is Ray, and he and I were just like fucking around making techno, and it's always been something that I've loved. I just never had the opportunity to play it, and it felt like a very European thing. It didn't really feel like I had any shot whatsoever to really do that here. So
Yeah.
it kind of just wasn't the focus. Like I couldn't fully focus on it, and I didn't even know. I don't think I'd ever been to like an event, like any kind of a techno thing before. So, but it was there. I mean, and I started working in the music industry in around like 2017, and when I would do audio and stuff like that, all my sound checks I would do. I would just play techno, and um, yeah, it was there. It was there the whole time. I just kind of didn't really advertise it, and I just, when I would DJ, the way and the style of how I like to DJ is with that music, and it allows me to really be creative on the fly and kind of do my thing. Like my favorite DJ in the whole world is probably Carl Cox, and it allows me to really kind of use a lot of my inspiration from the people that inspire me to incorporate into how I DJ. And then of course I developed my own style kind of around all of these different things that I've experienced in my life. So um, yeah, making Moombahton is actually surprisingly pretty hard. So was techno, honestly. I was a little surprised at that, but I mean, I had jumped around to so many different genres and different things that I kind of just needed to apply that to, just a new thing. And I knew what I wanted to hear, and so making techno kind of just came natural to me. So that was cool.
Yeah, yeah. So how do you feel about the scene now? So I see, and I'm asking you your honest truth, and you can answer as much as you want without like, causing any controversy or whatever you want to say. But how do you feel about a lot of people gravitating towards it now, and then like the scene? Do you feel like the scene? Because I'm talking as purely as a spectator. I don't know who's who. I see things. I'm very very deep into Moombahton and like 1 foot in, 1 foot out on hip hop. So I'm not like very well versed in techno, but from what I do see, I see a lot of the European acts coming over here now because Americans are like really really gravitating towards it. But do you think it's something that's going to fade away and then just go back to being a European thing? Or do you think that it's going to, be bigger here like the mainstream EDM stuff is?
Um, it's a good question. I think techno's in a really good place right now overall.
It seems like it. That's why I asked.
Yeah, but it's always been here. I didn't really have it in my sight kind of when I was coming up, and it's actually what I really started to discover that it was like here was when I worked for Avant Gardner, and we were doing City Fox parties all the time. Like it was just techno
Mm.
Disneyland all the time. It was crazy, and I really discovered a lot, and I really honed in on what I like there too. But I I believe that right now it's having a little bit more of a moment than, um, but I don't think that it's like oh, it's gonna go away and not be here. It's similar to drum and bass that kind of has a moment every few years or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
It's definitely a little amplified right now because a lot of the EDM DJs are, that's like the hot thing of the week. So they're all like, "Oh, I need to make a techno track now, bro," and then they do it, and next week they'll be making
Yeah.
some other thing, and it's whatever. But
So weird.
I think for like, I don't really consider that as like a part of techno. I think it's just, if anything, it's helping us out because I think it's just unlocking new sounds and things for their fans to go, and they're going to be like, oh, well, this is kind of cool. Let me check out techno now. And, then they'll discover hopefully a lot of the other people that actually care about the genre and make it and, participate in it. So yeah, I'm pretty stoked with where it is. I made the switch before like right before the pandemic. I had
Mm-hmm.
released a track called "Take Me Higher" with Tommy Sunshine's label Brooklyn Fire,
Sure.
and then the world went to shit. I released that track weeks before the pandemic, and I was like, okay, well, never mind all that.
Pause this, huh?
Yeah, and then I took like it wasn't, I don't know what to call it, but I just didn't release music for a long time. I moved to Los Angeles and stuff like that, so
Yeah.
really really kind of like that was like kind of like me dipping my toe in the water a little bit and like bad times, and just kind of like try.
This is the easy one. They want to know why.
mastering and making like, dull sounds sound a lot better.
For
Releasing things more
sure.
consistently, it's been one part of my job that's been really hard. I really suck at that.
Yeah, consistency is the key, man.
But we're getting there. We're learning. We're growing. We're getting up there. So yeah, soon, soon, soon,
Sounds
soon.
good, man. Sounds fucking good. So I'm gonna close out with two songs, but first I just want to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk to me. I really appreciate this, and getting to know this whole journey and explaining it for the people. And for those who are listening, this will be up on the YouTube tomorrow or Friday, one of the two. But it will be up there in full for everybody to listen to. So thank you so much, John. You are amazing. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you sharing the knowledge and sharing these stories with me. It means a lot.
Of course, man. Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate that you've been here for this whole journey too. Like, we've been friends for like 10 years and you've taught me so much. You've mentored me so much. And it really has
Same.
always meant the world, man. I really appreciate you being in my life.
For sure, man. We all learn from each other. I appreciate it.
Hell yeah, man. I'm stoked that you're doing this. And yeah, we'll chat soon.
Hell yeah, man. All right, we're going to close out with She's Wild, or She Wild, excuse me. She Wild and Empty. Two of my favorite songs. We're going to close out with those two. Catch you guys on the next one. This has been Moombahton Essentials on AMP Radio. See you guys soon. Peace.